Most of you who are watching this video have probably been on a spiritual path for quite some time. When you run into these setbacks that you have, these emotional outbursts or feelings of depression or sadness, or that somehow you're not actually making any progress on your spiritual path, this video is for you. But before I begin, if at any point you find that this video is helpful, then please like and subscribe so more people have access to this information. Creation, preservation, destruction. My reason for making this video today was because I had one of these roadblocks just yesterday. I had an emotional outburst and I felt upset, I was angry, I even cried, and it felt horrible. And I felt like I was really not where I wanted to be. I thought that I was progressing more on my spiritual path, and then here I am having these feelings, having these setbacks. Everything in the universe has a cycle. It has this cycle of being born, being preserved or maintained, and then being destroyed, or the physical death that we experience as humans. Now this cycle happens in everything. Everything that we see in the world of form has this cycle of birth, preservation, and then death. So this experience that you're going through that might feel like the end of the world at the moment is actually just part of this cycle. And I find a lot of comfort in that because I realize that nothing is actually going to last forever, even though in the moment you feel like you're never going to get out from under that rock. You're stuck in this depressed state or sad state or angry state or whatever the feeling is that you're having. Reborn again. What's beautiful about these cycles that we go through of birth and then preservation and then destruction is that we are actually shedding our old skin. You are allowing yourself to let go of these old habits, these old feelings, maybe these old patterns that are keeping you stuck. And when you allow those things to become destroyed, then you are able to step into a new you, a new pattern, a new behavior, a new way of being. And this happens as we allow ourselves to let go of what is not serving us. Typically, when we're in the thick of it, like I felt yesterday, I felt that I was actually regressing, that I wasn't actually making progress. But in fact, what was happening was that there were things that I had suppressed, anger, emotions that were locked up inside of me for quite some time, and they were actually coming out. So it was a positive thing. I was actually releasing stuff that didn't serve me, that I was holding on to, that was blocking me from allowing more of that light to shine through. If you actually learn how to process effectively, then you can really release a lot of deep held anger, emotional baggage, resentment, whatever it is that you're holding on to, so that you release the burden of holding on to this stuff. Once you've done your fair share of going through the emotion that you're feeling, the next thing to realize is that you have the ability now to decide what you want to do next. It didn't feel good, you didn't handle it the way you wanted to, but at least you know now that you have an option. Now you can decide whether or not you want to continue down this path of feeling bad and holding on to it, or if you want to make the choice to begin to let it go, to shed that old skin and step into the new you. No one's seeing through the same lens. It might seem obvious that none of us are actually seeing the world in the same way. But when you think about the fight that you might have just had with someone, it doesn't feel that obvious. The feeling is always, why can't they understand me? Why don't they see things from my vantage point? And why can't I understand where they're at? This is the reason for all misunderstanding, is that we are seeing things from a different vantage point. This happens from a very young age. We're conditioned from the time that we're born. And if we've come from a background of deep abuse or trauma, then what we're trying to do is learn how to merely survive. For those of us who have had more love in our lives from our parents, then what we're learning as children is how to get more of that love, how to behave or act in a certain way so that mommy and daddy are going to give us all the love that we need. Now you can imagine how different, how varied all of our filters are going to be, because none of us have had the same life experience and conditioning. It blows my mind sometimes when I deeply contemplate this, because I wonder if we're ever really understanding each other. We're never really hearing exactly what it is that the person that's talking to us is trying to say. We're only hearing what we can hear through our own filter. When we realize this, we realize that we can soften up a little bit about communication. This doesn't mean that you have to let somebody completely off the hook, but it does give you a little bit more breathing room, a little bit more space for you to understand that maybe, just maybe, this other person that isn't communicating with you in the way that you would like them to is simply unable to do so because of the filter that they're looking through. Letting go. We need to process what we're feeling. My God, I wish this was something that was taught in school. I wish this was something that we taught to kids, because it is so incredibly important. We have to stop suppressing our feelings. We have to stop denying them. We have to stop looking to get rid of them through entertainment, through aversion. We need to deal with whatever it is that we're feeling, because it is our feelings that will liberate us, that will allow us to shed that old skin and have a new sense of who we are. So when we emotionally process something, what we're doing is we're releasing it. We're actually letting it go. But the way that we do this is not by expressing it. Like I said earlier, it's perfectly fine that you expressed it in that moment, in the heat of the moment. You got mad, you got angry, you got upset. Find some softness and compassion for yourself. It's okay. But now that it's happened, and now that you're out of that situation and you're dealing with yourself and you have to contend with your own feelings, what to do now is to actually begin to process those feelings. Let yourself off the hook. Maybe you feel really guilty about having this fight or feeling the way that you're feeling. The thing that you need to realize is that when you let yourself off the hook, that's when you begin this process of letting go. I love the image of letting yourself off the hook. Think about this image of having a hook stuck inside of you. You can't actually begin this process of healing, really truly healing, until you get this hook out of you, until you stop being dragged and held and tethered to your past. So when we allow ourselves to pull that hook out, as painful as it might be, even though there's this gaping hole there, this wound, that's the only time it's going to actually begin to heal, because we cannot heal when we're tethered to our past. So when we take the hook out, we're letting go of the stronghold that this thing that just happened, maybe it was yesterday, maybe it was a minute ago, has on us. And then we can give ourselves space and room to let go of whatever it is that we're feeling, simply by allowing ourselves to be with it, to really feel it in that moment. Sit with it. You can sit with it right now and just feel it come up and just allow it to be there. You don't need to get rid of it. You don't need it to be different. When you're trying to get rid of something, you're not acknowledging that it's okay, that it's there in the first place. You're just immediately trying to get rid of it. All of our emotions, all of these things that we're feeling can be thought of as children. We can look at them as they have a need. They need to be validated. They need to be heard. They need to be seen. They need to be acknowledged. They need to be loved. So whatever it is that you're feeling, parent the feeling. Love that child. Allow it to feel that it has its place, that it's given you something, that you've gone through the cycle of birth, preservation, and death, and now you're allowing that child to be seen, to be held, to be loved. And that's when you let it go. It's beautiful to think that love heals everything, that when we love even the darkest parts of ourselves, that's when we set them free. You're exactly where you need to be. It's really difficult sometimes to feel that we are exactly where we need to be, because sometimes it feels dark. It feels like we're not where we want to be. It feels like we're not at all where we want to be, why we're not doing what we love, or why no one is appreciating us, or whatever the feeling is that's making you feel like you're not where you want to be. I promise you, you are exactly where you need to be. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't take action and do the things that you want to do and pursue your dreams. But what I mean is that you are constantly being guided. You are never alone. You are always loved, and you are where you need to be. There is a gift that is waiting for you on the other end of whatever it is that you're feeling. We have to learn how to soften, how to bring in that feminine energy, whether you're a man or a woman. It's important to allow yourself to be soft with yourself, to be less hard on yourself, to be less judgmental. Because the more that you build that muscle of having self-compassion and love for yourself, the more you're going to be able to give that to others. The more space you're creating inside of yourself to give that to other people. Because as cliche as it sounds, until you learn what that feels like, until you integrate that, embody that within yourself, you're not really going to know what that feels like. You're not going to be able to give other people that space, that feeling of not being judgmental, that feeling of having compassion for them when they're going through what they're going through. The greatest gift. Who would we be without our hardships? Where would we be without all of these experiences that shape us, that make us who we are, that allow us to deeply understand others? Even if you're feeling so depressed, suicidal even, as you're watching this, if you can get to the point where you decide not to do that, you'll realize that later on in life, you have such a deep amount of compassion for people who are in that state. It is such a gift to be able to help somebody else who is in that state because you've been through it. So as hard as our hardships may seem, they are allowing for us to find more and more love within us. It is giving us this incredible freedom and understanding for who we are, for being able to love. Our capacity to be able to love increases exponentially with every hardship. This is also true for the beautiful things that we experience in our life, for the feelings of love and bliss and ecstasy that we feel. Those things also expand our capacity to love. And we all get to experience both. We get to experience the sad songs and the happy songs and everything in between. And that's what makes life so rich, so full. It isn't this one note. It's an orchestra. It's a beautiful symphony. And life is that. Life is a beautiful song. We can embrace life in its fullness, in its richness, in its allowing for us to expand and remember what it is that we are. That beautiful infinite consciousness, that love that is you. I love you all so much. Don't ever think that you're alone in what it is that you're going through. Every single human being, I promise you, feels bad from time to time. Until next time, remember to let go. Let go of trying to be anything other than the truth of what you are.